Hello, this is G Cobb with you. Of course, this is the first time I've been doing this show here, of course, and having a good time. And we're going to talk about the Eagles. This is a big time of the year. You know, the season is quickly approaching. And so I want to look at and really do a scouting report of the Eagles, tell you what I've seen. I've been out there to training camp numerous times, pretty much the whole training camp out there, checking out what they're doing. And this is a talented football team. I saw them last year. They've made some changes. I want to talk about some of the changes and where this team is and the work they've got ahead of them, because they've got a lot of work ahead of them. There's no doubt about that. I mean, and I like the fact that they realize that. They're not talking. They don't want to talk about last year, because really last year has nothing to do with this year. And this is something that you can hear Nick Sirianni emphasizing, that they have got to put last year out of their mind, because that does not do them any good this year. When they start off each game, it's 0-0. The other team doesn't care. If anything, they're going to play harder because of the way the Eagles played last year, because teams have respect for them, and they're going to get everybody's best game. And that's what Eagles have got to know. And I hear them saying it, but they've got to be ready and know that they're going to get the loudest crowd. You know, they're going to have full stadiums when they go on the road, because they were in the Super Bowl last year. Teams are going to give them their best effort. So they've got to be prepared, and they can't come in sleeping, because just like with the Cleveland practice, where they had that first Cleveland practice and they didn't play as well, because Cleveland was treating this as if it was a big deal, because they were playing the team that almost won the Super Bowl last year. And so that's why they came into it, and they were playing and they were practicing with a lot of passion, and the Eagles were going through the motions, and Cleveland outplayed them. Now, the next day, the Eagles got the revenge, because they came out with that look in their eye and like they've got to do, but they've got to be able to do that all the time, because they're going to get everybody's best punch. They're going to get everybody's best effort. Teams are preparing, and defensive coordinators throughout the league are looking at what the Eagles did, and they want to stop what the Eagles did, because the Eagles embarrassed some teams. And teams don't want to get embarrassed. Defensive coordinators don't want to get embarrassed. So they're going to put their best effort, their best game plan will be against the Eagles. And the same thing for, the offensive coordinators, and I mentioned the defensive coordinators. But let's start with the Eagles. We got to start with the offense, and you know where we got to start at, which is with number one, Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts, he's the heart of this football team. You know, he's not just the mind. He is the mind of the football team, because he's making all the decisions. Most of the time, he's got the football in his hands. But he's the heart of this football team, and he is a fighter. He plays with passion, and his heart is in this team, and his commitment, meaning like, how hard do we have to work? You know, and the great thing I see about him, which is he's going to do all the work that needs to be done in preparation for a game, so that when he's coming down those stairs, you better believe he's ready. And his football team is ready. And that's one of the big things the Eagles have going for them, is they got a football team that is going to be ready. And they want to make sure. I see, tell Jake, hey, what's happening, Jake? How you doing, buddy? You know, that one of the big things that they're going to have to do is they don't want to put Jalen in positions where he could get injured. So one of the big things Jalen is going to have to be doing is getting the ball out of his hands. And that means it's what you call a check down, where he throws the ball to the running back, where rather than scramble, where he looks downfield, he's looking at the first option. He looks for the second option. He looks for the third option. Nobody's open. So rather than take off and run, which is what he normally does, we want to see him check that ball down, throw the ball to the running back, let him run, let him get hit. That's his job. But we don't want Jalen getting hit. We want Jalen to throw that football to the running back, namely, DeAndre Swift. He's a great running back, a great receiver out of the backfield. he can throw the ball to him or dump it to Kenny Gainwell. Let him run with the football. But and if he does run, we want him to run and not get hit. Don't take any shots. Slide. If he does the feet first slide, then they can't hit him. But we don't want Jalen Hurts getting hit, because that's the worst thing that could happen in a game, is for him to get hurt. So we want to avert that. We want to stay away from that. So he's got to make sure that he just check the ball down, just throw it to the running back. And that's something that Joe Montana did for years. I played against him, and he would be dumping the ball to Wendell Tyler, or he'd be dumping the ball to Roger Craig, and let him run with the ball. And a lot of times they would get good yardage too, because he'd throw that ball and he'd put it, have it accurate, and throw it to the running back. That's what Jalen's got to do. When there's nothing there, dump the ball off to the running back. Don't scramble. We want to cut down on the scrambles. We do not want Jalen running with the football as much. Now, looking at the Eagles, at their weapons, man, and do they have some weapons? We saw last year A.J. Brown, man, this guy's a monster. He's about 6'2", 225, runs, like a 4.4 40. He's a specimen, and he's a competitive. He plays hard. He runs angry. When he gets the ball in his hands, man, he's running like a running back. So he will straight arm a defender, run over him. He's got those type of capabilities. He's really a running back out there playing wide receiver, a big running back, just an elite athlete. I don't know how in the world he was available, but he's a tremendous athlete. So you've got him, he's a great receiver. And one of the big things about him is 50-50 balls. He goes, it's my ball. If that ball's up in the air, he's going to come down with it. We saw that last year. And what it's done is it's affected DeVonta Smith. And DeVonta Smith is much lighter, about 165, 170 pounds, about 5'11". He's not the specimen that you have in A.J. Brown, but he runs routes, precise routes. He's probably the best route runner in the NFL. I mean, he is precise. I would call him the doctor or the physician, whatever you want to say. Man, this guy is detailed with his routes. And I think that's helped AJ, where his routes are even better, because he's been around DeVonta. And DeVonta has learned from AJ with the coming down with those 50-50 balls, because he has gotten better at that, to where you could see in practice that Jalen has gained more confidence in DeVonta coming down with those 50-50 balls, where he will let it fly. Now, with AJ, we saw last year, if it's one-on-one with AJ, Jalen will put it up and let AJ have a chance to come down with it. And most of the times, AJ comes down with the football. And we're going to see more of that with DeVonta, because he's gained the trust of Jalen. But you've got some great receivers. Of course, DeVonta was a Heisman Trophy winner. Think of it. Heisman Trophy winner. #1 player in college football. He was able to win that honor because he is a great receiver. Great hands. He's able to get into his breaks very quickly. He will shake a defensive back up, and he is just an elite wide receiver and getting better and better. Now, Dallas Goedert. And the reason I pointed out A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith, these are 2 Pro Bowl level guys. And you've got Dallas Goedert, who is a Pro Bowl level tight end, a great blocker and a great route runner. Would have been a Pro Bowler last year if he hadn't got hurt. And I expect him to have a Pro Bowl year this year. He is one of the best tight ends in the game. And but there are only a certain number of footballs to go around on this football team. So that's why, Dallas hasn't gotten really the type of exposure that he deserves, because he's a great ball player. And as I said, I think we're going to see more of that, because I think you're going to see teams this year, they're going to play a lot of 2 deep. And 2 deep coverage, where you got 2 safeties back so you don't get beat with the big play. they don't want to give up the big play to either A.J. or DeVonta, either one of them. So I think you're going to see two deep zone, two deep man-to-man. And they're going to try to take away the big play. The Eagles are still going to attack it. They're going to go after that coverage. But that coverage is weak against the run. And you know the Eagles don't mind running the football, especially when they've got the best offensive line in the NFL. So you've got all that going on, but they're going to be on the attack. But teams are going to try to take away the big play. They don't want to get hit going downfield with A.J. and DeVonta slicing them up. So I see Dallas, there's going to be plenty of room for him. Quez Watkins going down the chute. Olamide, the new receiver they got there, Olamide, and I'm trying to get better and better with his name. Olamide Zaccheaus. He is very fleet of foot, and I expect big plays out of him. But they're going to be able to attack downfield with those throws down the middle of the field. The big thing you want to do against two deep is you'd like to get three receivers deep against those two defenders, and you got yourself a big play. So we're looking for that. That's right. AJ and the Slim Reaper. And, of course, the Slim Reaper is DeVonta. What a great nickname for him. The Slim Reaper, because you know what? He buries a lot of defensive backs. You know, they don't have good days against DeVonta. And DeVonta is tough, man. For a dude to be so thin, he is strong, and the dude is tough. And I love the way he plays the game. And so you got these three receivers on the attack with A.J. Brown, DeVonta. You're going to have Quez Watkins. You'll have Dallas Goedert. They are going to be on the attack. And that offense will get in and get into that groove. And then you got to deal with the running game. We haven't even talked about their running game. But when you go to two safeties and they're both deep, you've got one less man in the box to protect against the run. So that's when the Eagles' running game is going to be there to really just go off on them. But from looking at practice, the thing I see is that they are able to recognize coverages quicker. They have a feel for the coverage where when the receivers are coming off the ball, they know what coverage it is, and so does Jalen. And so they know where he's going with the ball. They know where the coverage is vulnerable. See, these are the type of things which really, as you get older, the game is played in your mind. And as you get smarter, you recognize things faster, and it makes you a better player. And that's where I saw that at practice with the Eagles, where they're able to be on the same page, where the receiver's going to run the correct route. Maybe they're going to make an adjustment. But these are the kind of things that I see. What's happening, Frank? My man Frank giving us a shout out, and we appreciate that as this is really our first time on A2D radio, and this is our first trip. We're just having a little good time, and I just wanted to talk about what's going on with the Eagles and their offense, because you want to be able to sit there and kind of play the game with the Eagles, where you're able to be thinking through things the way they are. We want to see Jalen Hurts with the check downs. We don't want him running with the football. We want him to dump the ball. If he's going to look downfield, is the first option there. Let's say the first option is AJ. Let's say he's covered. The second option is DeVonta. Let's say he's covered. And then we look at the third option. Let's say that's Dallas Goedert. He's not there. So rather than take off and scramble and run the risk of getting hurt, he dumps the ball off to DeAndre Swift, and DeAndre Swift catches it and runs for 5 yards, and now it's 2nd and 5. You know, somebody say, oh, that's a terrible play. Oh, that's a plus play. Now it's 2nd and 5. And the Eagles have you where they want you. Now they can attack with different things on that second down play because they got third down to get the first down. So now they can be very aggressive. And Jalen is staying out of harm's way because the big thing we want to do is we want to keep him healthy. We don't need him running with the ball. There are going to be times when he's going to run because he is a run threat because of the RPOs, the run pass options that they run a lot of those. And he just got to be smart when he does take off and runs. And I'd like to show him some tape of some of the quarterbacks who do a great job, like Russell Wilson, especially when he was in Seattle. He did a great job of taking what the defense gave him when he ran with the ball, and then he got on the ground. Then he would slide feet first. So, if you hit him, you got a penalty. Or somebody could get thrown out of the game. But he always would take what the defense gave him when he was running, and then he slide feet first so that they couldn't hit him. That's the way Jalen's got to play, because number one thing he's got to do is stay healthy, because his passing game is on another level now. He's better than he was last year. He recognizes things faster. And I think you're going to see more consistency out of the Eagles passing game. And you're going to see a lot of explosiveness, same thing that you saw last year. But the big thing that they're going to be able to do is the consistency is going to be there, because they're reading the coverages. They know what you're going to see. And a lot of times you can read a coverage if you look out at the cornerback and he's totally focused on that receiver. A lot of times, most of the time, he's in man-to-man, and if the receiver releases and the cornerback doesn't look back at all, he's in man-to-man. See, because if he's in zone, he's going to jam the receiver and then look back, see the quarterback. When they're in zone, the defenders are looking at the quarterback because they want to break on wherever the quarterback throws the ball. They don't really have a player man-to-man. They don't have a receiver man-to-man. They're reading the quarterback. When they're in man-to-man, their eyes are on their receiver. That's the way it's either man-to-man or zone. And see, the quarterback has to be able to read this. This is something that you see out at practice. I could see that Jalen is more adept at that. He knows what coverage they're in, what type of man-to-man coverage they're in. He knows what type of zone it is that they're playing, and the receivers know as well. This is a smarter group now. They've got more experience. Think of it. From playing in the Super Bowl, they went all the way to the Super Bowl, all the games they played last year. Now they've got a tougher schedule, but they are a smarter team. I don't know whether they're a better team this year, but I know that their receivers and their quarterbacks are smarter. They know exactly what they're going to be facing. Now, we're just going to be getting into this. I want to just talk to you. So you're smarter. Not only do I want the Eagles to be smarter this year, I want you to be smarter to see what coverages are the Eagles facing. Try to find out where are the safeties. They'll tell you whether it's a single high meaning you got one safety deep and the other safety is up helping against the run. Now, teams most of the time like to do that, especially on first down. They don't want you to run the ball on them. So they're going to have the safety up in the quote-unquote box, meaning he's going to be up by the line of scrimmage, and they're going to be trying to take away the running game. It's going to be very interesting to see what type of coverages do teams play against the Eagles on first down. Are they afraid of the run, or are they afraid of the pass? And I'll tell you what the Eagles like to do is, at the beginning of a game, they come out on the attack. They come out like their hair is on fire. And they are going downfield. They are throwing plays that they know are there. They take it right away, man. They're not waiting because they want to get a lead. And once they get a lead, they can build on that lead in the first half. And then the second half, they back off and they really run the clock out. I'd like to see them be more aggressive in the second half to really put games away this year. But I do love the attack. They come out on the attack, and they've got the receivers to really put teams on attack. Now, we've talked about the Eagles' wide receivers. They've got tremendous weapons out there. But really the key to this team is really the offensive line. And they have made one big change on the offensive line. But they've got a Pro Bowl. They've got an outstanding offensive line. This is an elite offensive line. And, of course, everybody has a lot of fun talking about the offensive line and the offensive line coach and all that. But they do a tremendous job blocking for the run and the pass. And it all starts with Jason Kelce, the Eagles center, who is really already penciled in to go to the Hall of Fame. He's been, I think, All-Pro maybe 5 or 6 times. He's, got that electric personality, and the fact that, they're doing the it's a documentary about him and everything that's going to be on Prime, and everybody's talking about that. But Jalen is a great leader. I mean, not Jalen, but Jason is a great leader. He's no nonsense when it comes to the game, and he makes sure guys know what they're supposed to be doing, that they're doing their job, that they play the game aggressively, and he has no problem stepping to anybody on the team and talking to them about their performance. And, you need these kind of leaders on the team, because football is not a nice game. It's not the kind of game where you just pat a guy on the back and everything. Everything's lovey-dovey. Everything's not lovey-dovey. This is a fight. It is an organized fight. And you've got to be really mentally sharp about what you're doing, where you know your assignments, you know what the guy next to you is doing, you know what his assignment is. That way, if you have to make any adjustments, you know what everybody's doing. That's the way a smart football team is, and that's the way the Eagles are. They know, everybody knows what they're doing. They know what everybody's job is. And so they know if you're not doing your job. And so guys are committed to each other to go out and play hard for each other. And so the Eagles offensive line, we've got, Jason Kelce, all-pro center, will be in the Hall of Fame one day. You've got at the right guard spot, and this is the position that is new, we've got Cam Jurgens in there for Issac Seumalo. Issac Seumalo signed a contract with the Steelers. He's a Pittsburgh Steeler now. So the starter at right guard is Cam Jurgens, who is really a center. He was brought here to take over for Jason Kelce, but Kelce won't ever retire. So he's still here, and he's warming the bench behind him. But now, with Issac Seumalo gone, Jurgens is stepping in at right guard. So you got him at right guard next to Lane Johnson, who is another Pro Bowler and possible future Hall of Famer, at the right tackle spot. And understand this, when you've got guys that are Hall of Famers and Pro Bowl year after year, there is a certain quality that they demand. And because of the way they demand certain things out of themselves, that's an example for the guys that play with them. And Jurgens is in the middle of these two Hall of Fame level players, Lane Johnson to his right and Jason Kelce to his left, the center, Eagles center. And so he is going to see the right way to do it. And these guys are going to be an example for him, and they're going to be pursuing excellence. And he's playing in the middle of them, and he can't help but pursue excellence himself because of seeing those guys play. So he's going to have a great experience there. And, he's still learning things, but I'm just excited to see how well he plays and how well the offensive line plays. Because I tell you, I love to see Jurgens and Jalen Kelce out in front of a screen. They are two of the best athletes, offensive linemen in the National Football League. Jurgens is fast, is probably faster than Kelce. And he's bigger than him too. But Kelce's one of the fastest players, centers in the league. And he's one of the best, if not the best, at getting out in front of a screen. And so we're going to see screens this year with DeAndre Swift. He's going to be running screens. That is one of the things that's going to be added to the Eagles' plays. They haven't run a lot of screens. They're going to be a screen team now because of Swift and how well he runs screens. He ran some screens against the Eagles last year and had a lot of success in that first game. And he's one of the best running backs in the league when it comes to running screens and draws. So you're going to see those out of DeAndre Swift. And he's got these great athletic offensive linemen of the Eagles will be out in front of him in open field. And they do a great job. And you can believe they're going to be some outstanding plays made. And it's something else that defenses are going to have to worry about. See, last year, they were worried about the receivers getting downfield. And they had to worry about the tight end for part of the year when Dallas Goedert wasn't hurt. But this year, they're going to have to worry about the screen and the draw. And the screen is a very difficult play, unless the the linebackers have to read it and get to it quickly. But with a guy like DeAndre Swift, the thing is, from studying him and the way he runs the screens, he's very patient. He's very calm. And he doesn't give anything away to the linebacker. A lot of times, I'm a former linebacker. I would look back and you see a guy, he's kind of running in place, or he's doing something that really is kind of showing that he's anxious about something. That lets you know he's getting ready to run a screen. He's not just back there blocking. He's getting ready to run a screen. And a lot of guys would tip it off. Swift does not tip it off. So that's why I expect them to have a lot of success with the screens this year. And Jurgens with this outstanding athleticism. Now, of course, at the left tackle spot, I haven't even talked about that left side of the Eagles offensive line. The Eagles are a left-handed running team. They run more to the left side than they do to the right. And the reason for that is they've got a Pro Bowl left guard in Landon Dickerson, who is a big monster. I mean, this dude is big, and he looks like he's been eating everything. I mean, just big and and ornery. And next to him is Jordan Mailata, who's even bigger than Landon. I mean, Jordan's like 6'8", 360. Huge, man. Just standing next to him. I mean, I played the game, but these guys are they're just so big. But they're not only big, they're good athletes too. And so they like running the ball to their side because, they're big and they're physical at the point of attack. They can move anybody off of that line. That's how big and strong they are. And the Eagles' offensive line is going to play a key role in the season. We know how important Jalen is, because Jalen is the heart of the football team. And he's gotten even better with his throws, his accuracy, with his decision-making. You see him during practice and how well that he's able to pick up what the other team's doing and make adjustments. But the other thing he does is he takes care of the football. That's why I want to see him with the checkdowns to Swift and to Gainwell and Boston Scott, all these guys. Get the ball to them and let them run with the ball without him running down on scrambles. We don't want him scrambling as much because we do not, I repeat, there's no way we want to even deal with him getting hurt. But in looking at some of the other kids, Tyler Steen is a young guy that's impressed me a lot. He's a draft pick out of Alabama, and he's backing up Cam Jurgens, and he's also backing up Jordan Mailata. He can play either the guard or the tackle. They grabbed him, I think, in the 3rd round from Alabama. This kid has looked good during the camp. He's looked very good. And there have been another number of the other guys who have stood out. But you mainly are going to have Mailata, Dickerson, Kelsey, Jurgens, and Johnson. That group of 5 with the new addition being Jurgens, and we expect a big year out of him. Now, the thing about Jurgens is he's not huge for a offensive guard, though. He weighs about 305 pounds or so. A lot of these guys are up 325, 330, 340. So he is not a big guard, but he's got to play smart. He's got to have solid fundamentals. He's got to use his athleticism and his quickness on some of the big guys who he's going to be giving up a weight advantage to. But the big thing he's got to do is he's got to stay underneath them. He cannot let these guys get underneath him. He's got to utilize his ability to get lower, and so that he has an advantage, a leverage advantage on these defensive tackles, because that's something that you wouldn't be surprised if you were to see them try to get big, because Kelsey's not that big. He's undersized, and you've got Jurgens right next to him, and he's undersized. So they might try to do a size advantage where they put, where they got big guys they're going to have in there anyway. A lot of them are not good pass rushers. So the Eagles, I think their quickness will allow them to get advantages on these guys, and they'll be able to block them in their running game. So the Eagles offensive line, the best in the business. And I'm sure that they're looking forward to getting out there and proving that yet again. So we want to talk a little bit about the running backs. The Eagles running backs, I mentioned and talked about Swift, but Rashad Penny is somebody who I haven't really said anything about. Rashad Penny is an old-fashioned, hard running back who is a straight-ahead guy. He hits a hole, and then he's quicker than you think, and he's able to get downfield and make some big runs. He has a number of 40-yard runs. He is a guy that's faster than you realize he is, but he runs hard. He is physical. The Eagles have got him. He was playing for Seattle at the beginning of his career, but now the Eagles have him here. And the big thing with Rashad Penny is he needs to stay healthy. I want to say Andy. Okay, thanks, Andy. Andy Ritter there with the welcome to the A2D family. It's a pleasure being here. Now, Rashad Penny, he is a key to the season. And I would like to give you a couple keys to the season, and then I'm going to talk about the Eagles defense. The keys to the Eagles season is going to be, of course, I talked about Jalen Hurts staying healthy. He's got to stay healthy. The big thing they've got to do is it's going to be in the red zone where they're going to take the ball down the red zone. They got to be effective down there. I mean, you want to come away with 7 rather than coming away with 3. You know, those are the type of things that are going to be the key. And, you know, they've got the people to make plays. They just got to be sharp. They got to play every team like it's the best team in the league. And it's not going to be easy because people have them circled on their calendar, and they're going to get everybody's best effort. But they cannot take anybody for granted. That's where they're going to go in, and you come in and you're not ready to play. And there's something about football, and, you know, of course, I experienced this where if you're not ready for a game, you can't get ready for the game when you show up there and you're in the locker room. You can't just turn it on emotionally. If you haven't been working all week and preparing for that game, you can't just show up at the game and then just kind of, well, we need to turn it on now. No, you're not able to do that. So you got to practice all week like you got yourself a big game. You're playing against a good team. You know, you can't practice for a team like they're not any good and you're going through the motions, and then you get on Sunday or whenever the game is and just turn on a switch. It doesn't work like that. You have got to be committed to playing a outstanding football, and you're focused on exactly what you're doing. You know the detail of what the other team does. You've done your homework. And, you know, one of the young guys, I don't want to really put his name out there. You know, one of the things I was telling him is that you win the game before, man. You got to do your homework, do your study, where you study what the other team likes to do, where you know them better than they know themselves. You put in that type of work. So you get in the game and you have a feel for what they do. And you don't know that as you put in this work and you see the plays they like to run, you know, and you become more and more familiar with them, you get a feel for what they like to do in certain situations. You get a feel for the offensive coordinator that you're facing. If you're a defensive player, you get more of a feel of it if you're focused on the detail of what they do. You know, what do they like to run out of certain formations? You know the formations they're in, and right away you know it clicks down, and all of a sudden you know they're going to run one of 3 plays. And then sometimes something else will tip you off as to what is going to be the play, and that's when you're able to go and make a big play against them. But that comes from the detail of doing your work. And that really is something that nobody sees, but they see the results of it at game time when you're prepared for each play that the other team is getting ready to throw at you. And so that's something that the Eagles, this young team, they've got to do. Some of the young players that they have out there, they've got to make sure that they're making these type of adjustments, but they've got to be ready. And I'm sure that this Eagles offense, the offense is going to be ready defensively. To me, that's where the season is going to be decided. It's not going to be decided on the opposite side of the ball, because I think the Eagles offense is going to be one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league. Because as I said, they've got a tremendous running game. We haven't even talked about that. The Eagles offensive line can move anybody out of the way. They move people, and they're very athletic when they're able to get advantages on folks when they take one side, and they get leverage on the defenders, and they do a great job of running inside and outside because they've got some very athletic offensive linemen who can get out on sweeps and run outside if you want. and they can run inside because they're physical, and they get leverage on big guys. And I've seen Jason Kelce. I don't know how he does it. You'll see him on a guy who's 40 pounds bigger than him, or it might even be 40 or 50 or 60 pounds. He's underneath him, and he's blocking the guy, and he's overpowering the guy. And the guy outweighs him by 60 pounds. I mean, it's amazing the way Kelce does it. And then he'll dump the big guy on his butt, which you love to see. Big fat guy getting dumped on his butt. But that's the way Jason Kelce is able to do. And this group, the Eagles offensive line, man, they get it done. And I'm sure these guys are going to be ready to play. But again, let me go back. Let me talk a little bit about the Eagles defense. Now, at the defensive line, they have just about, everybody coming back. They did lose one of their key players. He was signed, by the 49ers. But the Eagles, for the most part, have all of their guys coming back. Fletcher Cox signed. He's a veteran. He's back. Brandon Graham, another veteran. They'll be in there. Well, you've got a mixture of those veteran players on the defensive front. You've got young guys like Jordan Davis. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Jalen Carter, who is the number one pick. Jordan Davis was one of the number one picks last year. And Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith were the two number one picks this year. And Carter, he's ready to hit the ground running right now. I mean, looking at him at practice, when he gets in one-on-one situations, he is very tough to block. But because he's got a tremendous combination of quickness and speed, he's going to be getting off the ball. So you want to take a look when you can. Check out 98. Now, I had the pleasure of getting a chance to play with Jerome Brown. Now, that's who he reminds me of. He's got that type of combination of power and speed. And he's bigger than Jerome. And he gets off the ball, and when he gets underneath an offensive lineman, you see right away this guy is moving. And he can overpower an offensive lineman, or he can beat him with his speed by going around him. So you got that combination. So an offensive lineman has got to watch. He doesn't know whether to brace himself or get hit, with the speed. Pro Fan Talk, how you doing? Hello. Say welcome to the mothership. Okay, so it is. But the combination of the speed and quickness, Jalen Carter, number 98, rookie. Keep an eye on him. And they've got other pass rushers that really don't get the credit they deserve. It was great to see Brandon Graham have the year he had last year, where for the first time this year, he went over in his career. I mean, he went over 10 sacks. And you've got another guy who I think is probably the guy that is the most underrated on their defensive line, which is Josh Sweat. Nobody talks about Josh Sweat. He had over 10 sacks last year, and he is a great defensive player in that he plays the run as well as he does the pass. He does a great job of getting off blocks, making plays on running plays, and he is tremendous coming off the corner. And so they're going to have, Brandon Graham coming off one corner. They're going to have Josh Sweat coming off a corner. And we can't forget Haason Reddick, who's dealing with a hand injury. He let us know that he's going to be out there for the first game. So, New England, they're going to get a dose of Haason Reddick for the first game. So he will be coming off the corner. And he's really, a pass rushing linebacker. And he's always up. They don't have him playing off the ball. He really is a pass rusher. And he plays the defensive end spot. So you've got some tremendous outsized pass rushers when you got a Josh Sweat on one side, Haason Reddick, you got Brandon Graham, you got all these guys going on, and they are going to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. So I feel confident about that. And then when you're going to be getting pressure from inside with the kid, Jalen Carter, because he is a player. We're going to see Fletcher Cox, who's getting up in there in the years. But I think he's got some more left Who knows? This might be his last go round, but he had a productive year last year. I think he had about 7 sacks. So I expect a good year out of Fletcher Cox. And they don't really have to push him where he has to play a lot. They can really kind of space it out to keep him fresh when he's out there. And when he's fresh, he still can put together a very good pass rush. So we've got the likes of Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis. Now, Jordan, as a pass rusher, is still developing. He is really strongest as a run stopper. He clogs up everything. He's enormous, a huge human being, maybe 6'5", 6'6", 340, 350 pounds. He is huge. He says he's lost some weight, but I don't know. He looks like he's in better shape, though. He does have much better stamina. You see him, he's out there for more than 1 or 2 plays. So we just want to see him as he gradually becomes a better pass rusher. Right now, he does a great job against the run. Love to see him have some success rushing the passer, and he's getting better at that because, of course, he's seeing Jalen Carter and getting inspired by seeing the way he's able to play both the run and the pass. But I expect a big year out of Jalen Carter this year. I know that's a lot. He's a rookie, to expect him to just hit the ground running. But with the fact that they got to single block him, they're not going to be able to double team him. Now, as he gets older and becomes an outstanding player, teams will look in and times want to double team him. But they really can't afford that now. You got Hassan Reddick coming from outside, Josh Sweat coming from outside. You got Fletcher Cox rushing the passer. They're not going to say, well, we need to double team this rookie. No, they're not going to do that, especially right away. So they're going to leave him one-on-one. And I tell you, I want to see the kid do his thing because he's been doing it out there at practice. But we were looking forward to seeing him. But one of the big questions for this team is going to be at the linebacker position. Who is going to be playing linebacker? What are they going to do there? You got Nakobe Dean. He is the middle linebacker. He will be calling the signals. And Nakobe Dean did this in college for a team that went on and won the national championship. In fact, has won 2 national championships in a row. They, of course, Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs. But Nakobe Dean's very smart. He's quick-witted, and I think he's got a feel for the pro game. He got a chance to sit and watch things last year and saw T.J. Edwards, do his thing. And I thought T.J. had a great season. And really, I was surprised that they let T.J. just walk because he didn't really get a lot of money from the Bears. He signed with the Bears. I think got $7 million. $7 million is not a huge contract. Not anymore, not in the NFL. So I was really surprised that they let him walk. So that puts a lot of pressure on Nakobe Dean because not only is he really a rookie when it comes to how much time he's played, but he's got to call the signals in the huddle. He's got to get people lined up. There are different times he's going to be changing the coverages, or changing a blitz, depending on what he sees. And everybody's got to get the call. He's got to be able to do that. Then he's got to be able to know what he's got to do on every play. So you got all this going on. And he's just a rookie, really, because he didn't really play very much last year. That's a lot to ask. And I hope that everything goes smoothly. Of course, having the team get off to a fast start, that's going to be something that you really, really like to see. But there's going to be pressure on Nakobe Dean because Eagles fans are expecting to see a football team that's going to come out and march to the Super Bowl. They're expecting a Super Bowl team. They don't have any time for a young linebacker who is playing in the NFL for the first time in his career, who not only has to play, he's got to make the calls, he's got to do all of that. That's not going to be an easy job. So Nakobe Dean is one of the keys to the season. How does he play? Not only does he have to make the calls, he's got to make the right reads, whether it be a screen, a draw. He's got get on pass coverage. Let's say he's in in a zone coverage. You got to get back there and guard that zone. If he's in man-to-man, he's got to cover one of the backs or one of the tight ends, things like that. It's a lot to ask out of a young linebacker. So that's going to be a challenge. Zach Cunningham, who's a veteran linebacker, they got him in there. He will likely be the starter. And I knew that they wanted to get some experience. And I knew and was really happy to see them go out and get some experience at the linebacker position that'll be in there with Nakobe. Because it's a lot going on, and it happens very, very quickly. You know, it's man, a lot of things going on in your mind. But as you get to be a veteran, a lot of the things you're just doing instinctively. And you're able to stay on top of things. You're 3 or 4 steps ahead of everything that happens. When you're young, most time doesn't happen that quick. Now, he does have an advantage where he was playing at a high level of football when he was playing at Georgia. He was playing against the best college players. And he's going to get a chance, you know, he got a chance to really see what they were doing last year. And you can see he has a good understanding of it. So I expect him to have a good year and him to be able to be a step ahead of the offense and what they're doing because he's got to go in and do his homework before games. He's got to do it before games. That's the key, where he knows what teams like to do and when they like to do it. Because offensive coordinators, they have a certain feel. They have a certain habit. They don't even realize they have. But most teams or most offensive coordinators, they either like to go to plays that they're confident about when they're in tough situations. They like to go to plays they're confident about, or they like to go to players that they're confident about. That means that, let's say there's some type of running play that they have confidence in, and when they get in a situation, let's say it's a third down and they need 3 yards or 2 yards, they're going to run that running play, you know, because they're confident about that. It might be a player that they're confident about. Well, they're going to get the ball into the hands of that particular player with the game on the line, with, let's say, a big a situation and they're down in the scoring territory. They're going to get the ball. They're going to try to get the ball to the guys that they really believe in tough situations. That's the way offensive coordinators think. That's the way that the guys have a mindset that's the way they think. And see, as a linebacker and all of the guys on the defense, they've got to know these tendencies. What does this guy like to do when he gets in a tough situation? When it's all on the line? Is there somebody he believes in that he wants to get the ball to? Or is there a play that he believes in that he's going to run? And, you know, time after time throughout my whole career and from looking at games for all the years since I played, you see people have tendencies. That is the human condition. And a offensive coordinator will either have a play or number of plays that he likes in key situations, or he's got players that he wants to get the ball into their hands, and he thinks something good will happen if he gets the ball into the hands of his best players. I mean, you see this in basketball. With a game on the line, I mean, you're going to get the ball to your best player and let him, you know, dictate whether you win or whether you lose. And that's the way offensive coordinators are. And so the Eagles linebackers have got to know that. Zach Cunningham will be able to be in Nakobe's ear. Also, Christian Ellis. I expect to see him playing quite a bit this year. Christian Ellis has got a nose for the football. He does a great job of getting his hands on passes. He's done that throughout the training camp. And so I expect to see him on passing situations. He's a very good athlete, but he's got good instincts, and he's going to play a great deal this year. So you've got the 3 linebackers you'll be seeing throughout the season will be Nakobe Dean, Zach Cunningham, and Christian Ellis. That is the trio that really the season is going to hang on. Those guys are going to play a key role. If they play well, the season is going to go well. I think the season is going to go well anyway. But if they can get up on that top level, if they're playing great football and the defense is playing well, then you're going to see a great year out of the Eagles, because I think the offense is definitely going to be doing some things. Now, we go on to the secondary. The Eagles have two outstanding corners. Darius Slay, Pro Bowl level corner. James Bradbury, Pro Bowl level corner. I think they're going to play more man-to-man this year, because, you've got great corners. They can play man-to-man. Let that defensive line get after the quarterback. But they want to take away the big plays, so there are going to be similarities to last year's defense. They're not going to be putting them in positions where they're giving up bombs and big plays. They do not want big plays, so they're not going to allow that very much. But looking in the secondary, you've got really competition at the safety spot. That's where there's a question mark. Now, Reed Blankenship is going to be one of the starters back there, number 32 for the Birds. Reed Blankenship, who last year, kid was just about a walk-on. He barely made the team, and now the kid is pretty much locked in as the starting safety, and really he's had a great camp, man. He's getting a great feel for the ball, and he's playing the eyes of the quarterback. He does a great job of eyeballing the quarterback, and when he's he's got a feel for when to jump a route and make an interception, because he's really gotten his hands on a lot of footballs. And if they can do that, I'm telling you, if they can get turnovers, whew, man, this is going to be a great year. It'll be a great year. These guys have a feel for that. So we've seen that out of Christian Ellis. He's been a guy that's got his hands on a lot of footballs. Reed Blankenship, man, he has been picking off passes and been outstanding back there in that area. But you've got Slay and you've got Bradbury. Outstanding corners. Avante Maddox is an outstanding corner. He plays the slot. And, he's had a pretty good offseason. I mean, he hasn't had a great, now that you mention him, I've seen him get beat a number of times, but Avante Maddox is one of the best nickel corners in the league. Smart, does a good job against both the pass and the run. So I expect them to have a big year for, we wanted to know my thoughts. Coach Marcus, what are your thoughts on Zach Cunningham? He gets to the ball and makes tackles. Now, Zach Cunningham does have a nose for the football. He also does a very good job playing against the pass. So that's the reason that he beat out the other guys and is really the starter there. And then he's got a feel, because he's got an experience. He's been around the game, and you can see he's got a feel for what teams like to do. He understands things about formations and being able to expect certain plays depending on what the offense is looking like. That is something that I see with Zach, and he's a very good athlete. I mean, still can run. He's got good size, which is something I know the Eagles wanted, because Nakobe Dean is not that big. He's really undersized at the middle linebacker spot. Zach Cunningham, on the other hand, has got really good size for a linebacker. And he's got good size and speed. And so that's why they were really excited about being able to sign, Zach Cunningham and have him there. But he'll be splitting time with the youngster I said, who's at Christian Ellis. Zach will be splitting time with him. Nakobe Dean will be there in the middle. And we'll see what else they do with the linebackers, because there could be some changes. But I definitely know that those three are going to be on the field. Now, at the safety spot, what I mentioned about Reed Blankenship, he is the starter. Now, Terrell Edmonds is a veteran safety who there was a good chance we thought that he was going to be the starter. I don't know if he's going to be the starter. We really don't know who it's going to be, but you got Terrell Edmonds, who is a veteran, savvy player. He does a good job of playing and stepping in there and playing at one of the linebacker spots if he's needed to on nickel or on the dime coverage. He's smart. He's not going to get beat deep. He's able to, play football where he's taking away the big play, which is something that these guys want to do. So Terrell Edmunds is a good tackler. He's shown that throughout his career. Kavon Wallace is a young safety who has been a surprise. He was a 4th-round draft pick for the Eagles a number of years ago, and he's in there and he's fighting for a job. But they have not decided on who it's going to be. I didn't even mention Sidney Brown, who was a draft pick that the Eagles had just this year. And he's ultimately going to be the guy that's going to take over and be a starting safety for this team, but it's just not yet because he's still learning and becoming more and more familiar with the coverages and with the things he's got to do as a safety. And again, they don't want to give up big plays. There's a reason they call safety, okay? There's a reason they call that position safety, because a lot of times they can defend the big play and not give up the big play. Therefore, you keep points off the board. So that's the thing that, Kavon Wallace, Terrell Edmunds, Sidney Brown, those guys, they're going to see who's able to do that. Now, Justin Evans is another name that's been playing into this. All these guys have been battling for this one spot, and we'll see who they decide to go with. But I wouldn't be surprised if all these guys are on the team. And throughout the year, they're going to all get their shots at being out there with Reed Blankenship to see who can have the type of wisdom that they want, which is taking the chances when you want to, when you could go for a big play and an interception, but at the same time, not giving up the big play. They do not want to give up the big play. And I tell you, from Nick Sirianni, that he is the kind of coach who believes that the offense can put quite a few points on the board, and all the defense has got to do is not give up big plays, make the other team work for everything they get. And that was their formula last year, and they're going to have a similar formula this year. Don't expect to see all these blitzes, and they're going to let their defensive line get after the quarterback, and their secondary is going to be playing a lot of times to take away the big play. And that's where the safeties are going to play a big role in. Which ones are going to be out there? Who's going to be out there? I've seen all of them in practice have good days, bad days. Nobody's really just run away with it. And really they treat the whole training camp, really value it even more than just the games. So these players have been kind of evenly matched, but we don't know what's going to happen yet with the safeties. We know Reed Blankenship, number 32, he will be back there as a starter. Sidney Brown will eventually be in there as a starter, eventually, whether it's later this year or next year, but he's the guy that they drafted to take the spot. But Terrell Edmunds has got experience. Kavon Wallace has been a pleasant surprise because he's come on. Justin Evans has been a pleasant surprise. But which one of them is going to be the starter? I don't know. But that's going to kind of round up things for this team. So you're looking at the offense, Jalen Hurts staying healthy, scoring when they get in the red zone, scoring touchdowns, taking care of the football. Of course, you don't want to turn the ball over, but I expect a big year out of them because they add the screen. They're going to be running a lot more screens. Teams are going to have to worry about that. You got all the passing downfield with all of the weapons they have. They've got a tremendous amount of weapons. I don't see any team in the league being able to stop these guys because they've got the ability to run the ball on anybody. They've got an offensive line that can open up holes against any defense in the league, so they're going to be able to run the ball. But the big thing is, they got to put the ball in the end zone. But the defense, ultimately, I believe, is going to be the key to the season. How do the linebackers and the safeties, how do they step in? How do they play? That's going to be the key, if you ask me. The safeties and the linebackers. So guys like Zach Cunningham and Kavon Wallace and Sidney Brown, Justin Evans, Terrell Edmunds, how do they play? That's going to be the key to the year, and of course, Nakobe Dean. But that's going to be the fun of it. But we got a great defensive and offensive line. I see a big year ahead for the Birds. Now, will it be a Super Bowl year? it's going to be close to it. If they don't get there, it'll be a play here or there. But I think they can get back there and they can win the whole thing. I think you're going to have a big year out of Jalen Hurts. But they got to get it done, man, when it comes down to the wire. When you got play here or play there, they got to make it, man. And that's what is going to happen. I just went this alone. We're going to be having guests on the show and everything. But I wanted to just get a chance to talk to you, introduce myself. As you know, I love football. It's been a big part of my life. So if you want to talk football, if you want to get into it, we're going to be having getting questions and all that. We'll be having those opportunity for people to participate with the show. But we're going to have a good time. But G Cobb Live, Eagles, man. If you're in the Eagles, this is the place to be. We're headed for a big year, man, with the Birds. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's get it. EAGLES. Let's go. We'll talk to you.